Today we're just doing a video on stress cracks, digging them out, digging out that old paper tape because we have to do repairs. Stress cracks are the most common thing everybody has in a house. You probably at least have one stress crack in your house right now that probably needs to be fixed. It's a common repair. With these stress cracks on these, we like to dig out the old paper tape. A lot of guys think you just put tape on it and mud over it and texture it. Sure, you can do that, but you want to remove the old paper tape if possible. You want to dig it out. The joint seams, it comes out pretty easy. If the ceilings or walls that you're digging out the tape is really stubborn, sometimes you won't be able to get that tape out. So then you might have to do a V-notch technique. But you always want to try to dig out the tape seams. It is tedious, it is messy, it takes time. Now you're going to see this short video. It's time lapse, but this is almost 2 hours of digging out these tape seams, putting screws in and fiberglassing before we can even start doing a first coat. So a lot of time's involved. So, you're going to see the process. Maybe you decide you're going to hire someone and they come in and they don't do this process of digging out the seams. Well, then they probably cut a couple corners and trying to do a quick one on you because you always want to dig out the old seams. Not only does getting the old tape out of there, you're able to put the new tape in the area that you dug out the tape. It leaves a nice channel. So all you have to do is fill in that old mud joint seam and then it fills in nicely. If you don't get that tape seam out and you mud over the new tape that you put on, sometimes you can crown the joint. Crown means you're going to have big dip in it. It's crowned out. You don't want to get crown joints on your ceilings or walls because you're always going to see it. It's just basically a crown is a hump. You see a big hump. So sometimes you could see people's houses, you look at the ceiling and you kind of see these humps, lines and stuff like that. Those are crowned joints. That's what you don't want. So that's why you want to take the time, dig out the tape, knowing you get that old paper tape out of there. And then that way you can have a nice area to fill in with new mud. But it's a basic thing, just digging out the old tape. There's so many jobs I go and they're cracked out and I go back over it. And they're like, yeah, somebody already repaired this a year ago, so and so, this and that. And then I end up digging out their fiberglass, and then their fiberglass mesh tape is over the paper tape. So then I have to spend the extra time digging it out. There's also time that I got into jobs where they did repairs with fiberglass and I can't get it out. So when I can't get that tape out, I'm going to have to V-notch. V-notch, I have a couple videos on V-notching. Basically, I have to razor each side of the crack to make a channel, a V channel. That way I can get mud inside that V channel and then tape over it, kind of pre-fill it. Basically, just so you get something to get some mud in there. V channel, notch it. There's so many different names, but I just call it V notching, and most people in my trade know what a V notch on a stress crack is. Of course, you're going to have to V notch diagonal cracks or stress cracks that go off. They're not straight because most joint seams are going to be horizontal or vertical straight cracks. If you have a nice straight crack, then you know it's on the drywall sheetrock seam. So you should be easy dig out. Just dig it out. I like to use a 6-inch knife, and you just got to work at it, work at it. And if you're lucky, the tape's old. Once you get the 6-inch knife under it, sometimes you'll peel that tape off and it'll come out in a large 10-foot, 20-foot strand. But that's more on older stuff that hasn't been painted a while, stuff that's been weathered. This house here on this video is fairly new. This is a 3-year-old house and it already has all these stress cracks. In this video, I think we fixed on this job at least 90 linear foot. That's a lot of stress cracks for a new house. So all I can tell the people here is that we dug out the old tape, and we threw in a ton of screws to tighten up the sheetrock. Some stuff even got pre-filled, and then we did a fiberglass mesh tape, and then we coated over it 2 times with hot mud, and then did a skip trowel texture. So if it cracks after this, then there's definitely some structural movement. Also, it's a garage, so I also told them they need to primer the drywall and do a nice high quality paint because it's in the garage, so it gets weathered, hot, cold, plus the vibration of the garage door. That doesn't help. It shakes the trusses and everything every time the garage door goes up and down. So there's a lot of stress factors involved with garages. That's why you probably notice in most garages there's always stress cracks. Also in garages, they do 5/8 sheetrock, which is a heavy sheetrock, fire rated sheetrock. So just imagine that heavy sheetrock, 30, 50 sheets on a ceiling, all that heavy thousands of pounds of sheetrock screwed to the ceiling, all that extra weight, the vibration, the heat. So a lot of things are going on there. So there's a lot of stress points, a lot of cracks. So that's why we always get these stress cracks in garages. But I tell people in garage cracks, they might come back because it's something going on there with the vibration. Also, attics, there's a scuttle hole in here. Everybody thinks because there's a scuttle hole, they should get up there and start storing stuff in the attic. I don't recommend anyone ever getting in the attic unless you have to. The attics are meant for access for plumbing, electrical, stuff like that. They're not meant for storing grandma's Christmas stuff and stuff like that. Unless you have it really supported, you got nice, strong wood up there, subfloors, 1-inch subfloors, everything's tight and framed up properly. You shouldn't really have stuff in the attic. That's just my opinion. Every time I see cracks in a garage ceilings because someone has a bunch of stuff in the attic or they're in the attic. So it's a common issue with these stress cracks. Every house is going to get a stress crack. I've never seen no houses get at least one stress crack. So if your house does have stress cracks, you're going to see the process of digging it out. That's the step one. And then after we get it all dug out like this, plenty of screws tightened up the sheetrock, then we're ready to do some actual mudding and texturing. Hope you like the video.